Good evening, my friends. My name is Adam, and I will be your host on A Haunted History, the podcast that will lead you on a spine-tingling journey through the shadowy corridors of the past. From the eerie echoes of ancient castles to the whispered secrets of forgotten battlefields. Each episode will transport you to a different era where history and the supernatural collide. So dim the lights, my friends, and gather round as we prepare to embark on a historical adventure beyond the veil. Welcome once again to A Haunted History. Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining us again. So today we're going to be covering the spookier side of Christmas, myth, legends, and lores from around Europe, and things that you might not know, some things you might be more familiar with. But I'm sitting here with my co-host, Justin, and we're going to do a little discussion on this. Justin, why don't you introduce yourself?
Well, hello everyone. My name is Justin. I've been friends with Adam for a long time. Mostly, I like history and I like facts and cool things. Really don't know if I believe in ghosts and the scary side of things, but Adam here's going to try to convince me that I need to probably be a better person or something bad's going to happen to me. So thank you, Adam, for having me on. Cheers to you. Merry Christmas and to your family.
Cheers. So we're going to take a second and we're going to gather around the old Yule log. Justin, do you know what the Yule log is?
What I would have to say is not appropriate. So go ahead and why don't you tell me, Adam?
Okay, so the Yule log took a couple different forms. So it was a special log that was picked out that was, the Christians, some believe, would symbolize the light of Christ. It was what you would light for your Christmas fire. The pagans and the Celts would actually view it more as a symbol of the sun. So during December, the sun did not seem to move from the sky. So they thought by lighting a special log that they selected on a certain day, that it would help the sun move again. So it takes many different forms on this.
Interesting. Does it matter what type of log?
I don't think
It's just symbolic.
I think it's just symbolic. It was never really covered one way or another, so it was never really clarified what kind of log it was. It was just something that people did gather around, and during this time, which the Celts called the Dark Times, and we would later call winter, we would tell ghost stories, things of that nature, and which a lot of people don't associate with this time of year. They associate more with Halloween and not really December or Christmas itself. So, what do you know about any of the Christmas legends, anything of that nature?
Well, obviously we know about like Saint Nick and they're like, he's gonna come and be good to children that have been good. If not, you're gonna get a lump of coal. I definitely was threatened as that as a child. I'm pretty sure at one point somebody did put a lump of coal in my stocking as a funny joke. I did not find it funny. But I mean, other than that, there's some Netflix movies about a scary Santa Claus. And then,
Yeah, I mean, it seems that the scary horror culture has worked its way into pretty much any holiday it can to kind of freak us out. There's the Leprechaun that focuses around St. Patrick's Day. All the different movies and Hollywood is captured on this. The first one I want to focus on is actually Krampus. So, are you familiar with Krampus?
no, I'm not. I mean, I know. Again, isn't he like the evil Santa Claus? Which I do have a joke.
Okay.
What do you call an evil Santa?
No idea.
Satan Claus?
Oh God. Okay. So it's kind of funny because you might be a little bit right on that, and I'll touch on that in one moment. So Krampus was a creature that predated Christianity. It actually predated the Romans. It was already in.
I apologize.
Okay.
Podcast, like real life happens. The dog is taking a nap and he's snoring at this moment. So, Adam, continue.
Okay, I do apologize for that, everybody. The dog was taking a nap and apparently was very relaxed. So, yeah, Krampus again does predate the Romans, and by the time of the Roman conquest under Caesar Augustus, Krampus was well ingrained into the Alpine tribes of the Austrians and Germanics. as a creature that kind of heralded the dark times and also what we would call winter. So, but not a lot is his festival was supposed to be celebrated on the 5th or 6th of December, but not a lot is known as to why or we know that they would dress up, but we don't really know why the Celts celebrated this entity.
You think it was just dark and they wanted to have a party?
Maybe,
Cold.
maybe. It's believed that during this time of year, as with Halloween, during the darker, colder months, that the veil is lifted and there is more um, interaction with the spirit realm. So I think what kind of happened is they just kind of wanted to have a little bit of a festival. Also, maybe dressing in this manner might make Krampus not spirit you away. But again, the origins of this are pretty fuzzy. Now, do you know where the tie-in with Saint Nicholas or Santa Claus came from with Krampus?
No, not specifically with Krampus, but I mean, I always thought like, right, Santa Claus is there. Like, if you're a good kid, you're gonna get more presents, and so this is just parents lording over their children to like get them to do what they want, and somewhere with maybe Krampus. Like, if Santa Claus is good, Saint Nick is good. There's got to be the opposite, right? So like, what did Krampus even look like?
Krampus actually is depicted as a 6-foot goat-like creature with cloven hooves, stood on 2 legs, a forked tongue with a goat head covered in dark hair. So when you said Satan Claus, um, when Christianity kind of took a hold of this narrative, that's kind of what they pictured, that it was a mixture between Satan and a otherworldly being. So,
So
yeah, that's
why would they depict him as like Satan? I mean, like the devil.
well, I think it just you know, it was meant to scare children. So the tie-in between this and really Christmas itself leads into the origins about Saint Nick. We know that he was a bishop within the church, within the Greek Orthodox Church. He is said to have passed away on the 5th of December, which coincidentally is when the Celts would celebrate the Feast of Krampus. And the Christians would then celebrate the Feast of St. Nicholas.
Okay.
So after some time, Krampus was rolled into traditions in there, and it seems that his purpose was really to scare children. It looks like, honestly, the Germans don't screw around. So, do you know anything about how he would scare children?
He's not. He's Isn't there some legend about like they would like kidnap them and like take you away from your family if you misbehaved?
Well, actually, that's for the really bad children. So yes, that was something that was passed and handed down. Was that if you were really bad, for children that were kind of misbehaving, they might get coal from Krampus. He usually visited around this time on the 5th. If you were a little bit more naughty, maybe you might feel the taste of his birch switch, which he would use to hit you with. And then if you were truly an evil little entity, he would carry you away in his sack of horrors to do God knows what. And it's just something that they scare you with on that.
Now, did he have a little snitch like that stupid elf on the shelf?
I really don't know what to say about Santa's little baby monitor that has been popularized now, but I do not think so. I think he just came around and kind of Saint Nick kind of let him know this child's bad, this child's good, and good children were left alone. So it's So Krampus Night is one of those times on the 5th of December where Saint Nick would go around and would leave candy and good things for good boys and girls,
Sure.
whereas Krampus would go around and do the exact opposite. Coal, birch witches, a lot of men would dress up like Krampus and would just it was almost an excuse to have a party, but also kind of to scare a little bit of the youth on that.
Santa never brought me candy. He always brought me socks. Like that's what would show up. Socks and underwear.
So I actually have a tie-in for that a little later on about the socks and underwear, and there is an explanation on some early cultures. People received clothes. I don't really know if it today is the same way. Maybe your parents thought you needed new clothes, but
It's a nice gift.
but there is a tie-in to that. I will touch on a little later. Um, so Krampus was such a popular figure that even during the 19th century, they would hand out Krampus cards as Christmas cards to children, and it would depict Krampus doing various deeds to evil little children, to straighten them out.
Did they deserve it? That's the real question.
It is to say that the Austrians have moved away from this tradition, or try to at least, because they don't believe in scaring the children. However, the Germans, they don't seem to really care about, it's still pretty much ingrained.
Are people still practicing? Or, like, participating in this?
Well, there's a reason why the legend still endures. I mean, and there's a reason why it's endured in popular culture as well. It did make its way over to America with a lot of German immigrants coming over, especially to the areas in the Midwest of the United States, where they still hold Krampus runs and Krampus Nights festivals.
Oh my gosh, I'm missing out.
Yeah, well, yeah, you are, and we did miss out on this year's festivities, but yeah, it's more or less that these are just excuses for adults to pretty much have a good time.
Yep. I definitely don't need that, but I'm in.
Okay, so you mentioned the clothes earlier, so that actually brings into an Icelandic legend or lore known as an ogre named Grilla. And Grilla had a husband whose name I can't pronounce, but she was also the owner of the Yule Cat. And are you familiar with the Yule Cat?
No, I just learned about Yule logs today. So I'm guessing it's not a hickory stick.
It's not a hickory stick. No, this is like a cat from hell. So basically, in Icelandic tradition, at least involving the Yule Cat, is that Grilla would come down from the mountain with her husband, her kids called the Yule lads in tow, and they would perform pranks and be mean to children. But Grilla was actually looking for children that were bad to scoop up and put in her stew and eat children. So it was a little more violent tale than with Krampus. Now with the Yule Cat pretty much would go from house to house and observe if children had new clothes. So that's where you get the socks and underwear from, because only industrious, hardworking children would receive new clothes.
Oh, that's me to a T.
Is it though? like I said, but yeah. So if you received new clothes, he would leave you alone. But if your clothes seemed like you were ragged and unkempt, then it was that you were a naughty child, and he would enter the house and eat you. So again, another morality tale of be good or bad things happen.
Go take a shower. Or go take a bath, right?
Well, I always wonder what would happen what if you're just poor? So, I mean, what if you can't afford new clothes?
Well, maybe they didn't tell him about the scary cat.
Well, also maybe if he was nice enough to forgive the raggedness of the clothes, maybe they were up to his standards, he might leave you alone as well. So, one of my favorite figures actually comes back out from Austria and Germany again, and this is Frau Pacha. Frau Pacha was also known as the Christmas witch or belly slitter. So what she would do is, if you were a good child, she would give you a gold coin. If you were a bad child, she would disembowel you with a knife that she kept hidden under her skirt, and then fill your innards with various objects from straw, sand, pebbles.
That's terrifying. Like, hey, Jimmy, you're not good. Guess what's going to happen? We're going to slit your belly open, and we're going to shove sand in there.
Well, I mean, it doesn't even end with the kids. Like, this is the first one where if a housewife was thought to keep an untidy house or have unspun flax, by 12th night, if Frau Pacha showed up and it didn't meet her standards, she would cut open the matron of the house and do the exact same thing as she would do to the kids.
That's intense.
And
that's something I can get behind. I'm kidding. Podcast. Not gonna imagine like not only like your children being forced to like listen to these characters, but like, Sally, this I don't know here.
I thought the same thing. Now, within many different lores, there was a way to try to appease Frau Pacha, and one of them was to leave out a bowl of her favorite porridge and make sure to add enough butter in it. If she was appeased,
it's like the same thing with Santa's cookies.
Exactly. Right. Exactly. Well, they would also do the same thing for Krampus. They would leave out whiskey. They would leave out in Krampus's
You're
case,
really selling me on this Krampus guy.
Well, in Krampus' case, a lot of times it was schnapps. A lot of times it was schnapps. But with Santa, I mean, everybody talks about the milk and cookies. A lot of times it was whiskey, but people never talk about the whiskey.
Oh, is that when the music started at midnight? There was dancing going on? It wasn't the reindeer on the roof? It was just my parents having a good old time?
Man, quite possibly. Quite possibly.
Thank you for ruining my childhood.
Now, and then there was also Hans Trapp, and Hans Trapp actually came out of France, but keep in mind this is on the border of France and Germany, and Hans Trapp was similar to Krampus in the way that he would abduct naughty children. But he was once thought of as human. He was excommunicated from the church for being thought to be in league with the devil, and then he was kicked out of his hometown and fled to the mountains. And comes down to abduct naughty children along the border. Again, very Germanic in nature. With that, I think it has more of that than the other tied into it.
Okay.
Now, the Christmas Carol.
Okay, Charles Dickens?
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay. The ghost of the past, the present, and the future?
Yeah. Now, it was written as a ghost story, but it comes down as it's more of a tale of morality. Like these were all figures with inside the main character Scrooge's conscience, things that he possessed in him to be better, things that he had to be mindful of. So in the end, all of these creatures, all of these myths, all of these stories that still resonate today in many different cultures around the world have to do a lot with morality, have to do a lot with remembering your fellow man, being an upstanding citizen, obeying your parents. You know,
all the things that religion teaches, whatever religion you may believe, similar, like you be good or you will be smited.
Yeah, I think that's really what it came from. Frau Pacha does, like I said, predate Christianity, and a lot of them do predate that. It was just, I guess, the Germanic way of doing things. But again, the stories behind them are always kind of fuzzy because a lot of times it was more of an oral tradition, and so it was whatever you heard passed down.
Sure.
And scholars can only theorize as to kind of how long they were around and kind of what they meant to the Celtic people or the pagan people. Obviously, they were brought into the church, which many people think they were brought in to bring in new converts to make them more comfortable in the new setting for many different reasons. But yeah, with that, so that's kind of the thinking about that.
Interesting. Yeah, I just always wonder, like, all right, well, we've got this Santa Claus thing, right? And so, like, were you supposed to, like, lie to children? I mean, whether you believe in Santa Claus or not. So, but, like, that sets the foundation for other things later on in life, like, oh, this is real, but this isn't. And you lie to your children. So, I'm digressing. However.
Well, I was going to say, I mean, but are you mad that your parents told you about Santa Claus and you found out later on that there might not be a Santa Claus? I mean,
yeah, what else did they lie to me about? No, obviously, like, who doesn't love getting presents? And, as a kid, I was a good kid for the most part, and I got pretty good presents.
Well, I literally had to tell my son today that he told my daughter on the way to his grandparents, well, if I'm not nice, I don't get presents. I said, that's not why you're supposed to be good or nice to people. You're supposed to be good because it's the right thing to do. And he goes, oh, I didn't know that. So it's
morality is important. Kindness is nice.
morality is important, and I mean that's exactly why these legends have persisted and why they endure today. There's a reason why the Christmas Carol has been made and remade in different forms.
Well, that's just
So
human nature, right? So at the end of your life, you're going to reflect on all the things that you've done or you didn't do and you should have done. And then so like the benefit of this Scrooge ghost is like, all right, well, now you have time to change before it's all over.
yeah, and that's exactly with, I mean, with these other figures like Krampus, Frau Pacha, and the like. It's basically to teach these kids to be upstanding, righteous, and kind of, I hate to say obey authority, but I think that's kind of what it means.
Sure.
So
Man, I probably needed more Krampus in my life then.
I think everybody could use a little more Krampus. I don't think that's a bad thing at all. Well, Justin, I do appreciate you being on the show, and thank you.
Oh, I
And
appreciate it. Merry Christmas and to yours and your family, and thank you for having us over. The dog, sorry, he's snoring a little bit, but he is, he's definitely getting not coal in his stocking. Mini milk bones.
yes, I know your dog is your baby. Well, thank you, Justin. I appreciate it. And to all of you, again, a Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, and may I wish you all a Happy New Year. Thank you once again for listening to our show. As always, your feedback is very important to us. So if you'd like to follow us on Instagram and Facebook and comment on there if you have any questions, it just makes our show better. Also, if you'd like to reach out to us personally with a comment or question, or maybe a supernatural story which you would like featured on the show, you can do so at contact@ahauntedhistory.com. Thank you once again, and have a good evening.